The PowerPoint was polished, I'd give her that. Samantha always did have an eye for aesthetics, probably from all those years of making vision boards about her future empire while I was debugging code in my bedroom. I sat in the corner of the boardroom, iPad in hand, watching the parade of hopeful founders pitch their dreams to Apex Venture Capital. As a silent partner, I rarely spoke during these meetings. That was Marcus Chen's job as managing partner, along with the other visible faces of the firm. I was just here to evaluate, analyze, and ultimately decide where our $500 million fund would go. Next up, Marcus announced, we have Innovati Tech, a B2B SaaS platform for supply chain optimization. The door opened, and in walked my sister, Samantha Rodriguez. She kept her maiden name, said it sounded more entrepreneurial, strode in like she owned the place. Designer suit, perfect blowout, that same confident smile she'd worn while introducing me as the family disappointment at every gathering for the past decade. She hadn't noticed me yet. I was partially hidden behind Marcus, just another face in a room full of investors. Her eyes were on the big players, the ones she'd researched on LinkedIn, the ones whose approval she craved. "Good morning," she said, her voice pitched perfectly between confident and deferential. "I'm Samantha Rodriguez, CEO and founder of Innovatech. We're revolutionizing how companies manage their supply chains through AI-driven predictive analytics." I made a note on my iPad, asterisk buzzword bingo in the first sentence asterisk. She launched into her presentation, and I had to admit, grudgingly, it wasn't terrible. The concept was solid, if unoriginal. The market opportunity was real. The financial projections were optimistic, but not completely insane. But I knew things the other partners didn't. Like how she'd stolen her CTO's code and forced him out with threats of deportation issues. He'd reached out to me 6 months ago through a mutual connection, devastated and broke. I'd helped him find a new position and a good immigration lawyer. Like how her revolutionary algorithm was actually purchased from a Pakistani freelancer on Fiverr for $500, then repackaged as proprietary technology. Like how her previous startup had collapsed after she burned through $2 million in funding on office parties, first-class travel, and a marketing campaign that consisted mainly of Instagram influencer sponsorships. "Our burn rate is highly efficient," Samantha continued, clicking through slides. "We're seeking $5 million in Series F funding to scale our operations and expand into new markets." "Revenue?" asked Patricia Wong, one of our associates. "We're pre-revenue but have strong interest from several Fortune 500 companies." I made another note, asterisk translation, no customers asterisk. "What's your customer acquisition cost?" Marcus asked. "We're still optimizing that metric, but we expect it to stabilize around $1,000 per enterprise client." Translation: "We have no idea." The questions continued, each answer more evasive than the last. Samantha handled them with the same smooth confidence she used to convince our parents that my full-ride scholarship to MIT was less impressive than her acceptance to a party school for business majors. "Liliana got lucky," she'd said at my graduation dinner. "But in the real world, it's about connections, not coding. Watch. I'll be running a company while she's still fixing other people's computers." Well, she was half right. She was running a company. Into the ground, from what I could see. "Do you have any technical background?" Patricia pressed. "I believe in hiring smarter people than myself," Samantha laughed. "I'm the vision person. I leave the nerdy stuff to the nerds." Several of the partners chuckled. I didn't. Marcus glanced at his notes. "It says here your previous venture, Glam Tech, shut down after 18 months. Can you tell us what you learned from that experience?" For the first time, Samantha's smile faltered. Every entrepreneur faces setbacks. Glam Tech was ahead of its time. The market wasn't ready for AI-driven beauty recommendations. Asterisk, the market wasn't ready for a $200 monthly subscription to be told what lipstick to buy, asterisk, I typed. "But I learned valuable lessons about runway management and pivot strategies," she continued, recovering. "Those lessons directly inform Innovatech's lean approach. Lean approach equals one developer in Bangladesh and a virtual assistant in the Philippines." The presentation wound down, and Marcus asked the standard closing question. "Is there anything else you'd like us to know about you or your company?" Samantha's eyes swept the room, finally landing on me. For a split second, I saw it, the flicker of recognition, the widening of her eyes, the slight catch in her breath. But she was good, I gave her that. She recovered almost instantly. She gathered her materials, sneaking glances at me. I kept my expression neutral, making notes on my iPad like any other pitch. At the door, she paused. Actually, I'm sorry, but is that Liliana Rodriguez? Every head in the room turned to me. Martinez, I corrected. I use my married name professionally. You two know each other? Marcus asked. Samantha laughed, that tinkling sound I'd heard 1,000 times before delivering an insult. She's my sister. I had no idea she was involved with Apex. Liliana is one of our founding partners, Marcus said. She typically maintains a low profile, but her technical expertise and market insights have been invaluable. Founding partner? Samantha's voice cracked slightly. But I thought, the website only lists. I prefer to stay behind the scenes, I said evenly. Less drama that way. She flinched at drama, the word she'd always used to describe my reaction to her public humiliations. Well, she forced brightness into her voice. What a lovely surprise. I'm sure Lily gave you all the family discount on her evaluation, right? We evaluate all pitches on their merits, I said. Family or not. Of course. Her smile was starting to look painful. Well, I'll let you get back to your deliberations. She fled. The room was silent for a moment after she left. So, Patricia said finally. That was your sister. Yep. The one who. She trailed off. Everyone knew the stories. Tech is a small world, and my sister's treatment of me had become something of a legend after a few too many drinks at a conference 3 years ago. The family disappointment PowerPoint she'd made for my 30th birthday, complete with graphs showing how I'd wasted my potential on antisocial pursuits. The Thanksgiving where she'd announced to 40 relatives that I was proof that book smarts don't equal life smarts. The wedding toast where she'd spent 10 minutes explaining why she was surprised anyone would marry me. That's the one, I confirmed. Well, Marcus said carefully, regardless of personal history, we need to evaluate Innovatech objectively. Initial thoughts. Weak financials, David Kim noted. No revenue, no clear path to profitability. The tech stack seems questionable, Patricia added. Did anyone else notice she couldn't answer basic questions about their own algorithm? The market is crowded, another partner chimed in, and without a clear differentiator. I let them talk, making notes. Everything they were saying was true, but incomplete. Liliana? Marcus prompted. You've been quiet. I looked up from my iPad. I have some concerns. Such as? 3 months ago, Innovatech's former CTO, Rajesh Patel, filed a complaint with a labor board. He claimed Samantha threatened to report him to ICE if he didn't sign away his equity stake. Shocked murmurs around the table. She settled out of court, but only after he went public on Twitter. She claimed it was a misunderstanding, but I have screenshots of the text messages. Jesus, Patricia muttered. There's more. The proprietary algorithm she mentioned, it's available on GitHub. Open source. They just changed some variable names and called it their own. That's fraud, David said. Technically, it's a GPL violation, but yes. There's also the matter of her burn rate at GlamTech. $2 million in funding, of which approximately $1.3 million went to marketing and business development. I pulled the receipts. It was mostly first-class flights, 5-star hotels, and a company retreat to Tulum for her and her friends. How do you have all this? Marcus asked. Due diligence. The same deep dive I do on any company that makes it to the pitch stage. The fact that she's my sister doesn't change that. If anything, you went easier on her, Patricia observed. Usually you'd have brought this up during the pitch, not after. She was right. I had gone easy. Some habits die hard. So that's a pass? Marcus asked, though the answer was obvious. Hard pass, everyone agreed. Liliana, do you want to deliver the news? Marcus offered. Given the relationship. No, handle it like any other rejection. Professional brief, encouraging them to try again when they have more traction. But I knew Samantha. This wouldn't end with a form email. Sure enough, my phone exploded 2 hours later. You, Sen-A-K. You've been stalking me. This is because you're jealous. You've always been jealous. I'm telling Mom and Dad. You just cost me everything. This is why nobody likes you. Successful women should support each other, not tear each other down. I'm going to expose you on LinkedIn. Everyone will know what kind of person you are. I let the text pile up, then finally responded. Your pitch was evaluated using the same criteria as every other company. You're welcome to reapply when you have legitimate technology, actual revenue, and a CTO you haven't threatened with deportation. That's aita. Rajesh was confused. English isn't his first language. I have the text messages, Samantha. You've always been a vindictive bitch. I screenshotted the conversation and forwarded it to our legal team with a note, in case she follows through on the LinkedIn threat. That night, my husband Alan found me in my home office, staring at my monitor. Let me guess, he said, massaging my shoulders. Samantha took the rejection well. She called me a snake, and a bitch, and jealous. The usual. You know what's funny? He pulled up a chair. She spent so many years calling you the family disappointment. Meanwhile, you've quietly built a career that lets you decide the fate of companies like hers. I didn't enjoy it, I said, and meant it. Despite everything, there was no satisfaction in rejecting her pitch. Because you're not her. You evaluate based on merit, not personal vendettas. Her company really was garbage, though. Oh, complete trash, he agreed. I looked at the pitch deck. My favorite part was when she listed first mover advantage in a market that already has 47 competitors. I laughed to spite myself. You know she's going to make this all about you at the next family gathering, he warned. Bold of you to assume I'm going to the next family gathering. But of course, I did go. Thanksgiving, because I'm a masochist and my mother's guilt trips are weapons grade. I knew something was up when I walked in and the conversation immediately stopped. Samantha was holding court in the living room, surrounded by sympathetic relatives. There she is, she announced. The sister who cost me $5 million. You cost yourself $5 million, I said, setting down my pie. I just had a front row seat. She sabotaged me, Samantha told our assembled relatives. Her own sister. Can you imagine? I'm trying to build something, to make something of myself, and she tears me down out of jealousy. Samantha, I said tiredly. Your company had no revenue, no legitimate technology, no viable path to profitability. That's why you were rejected. She's lying. Samantha's voice went shrill. She's always been jealous of me. Ever since high school, she's tried to undermine me. In high school, I was coding in my room while you were telling everyone I was autistic because I preferred computers to parties. You are autistic, she snapped. Probably, it would explain a lot. Samantha. Our mother finally intervened. That's enough. She's the one, whoa. I said enough. Mom turned to me. Liliana, was it really necessary to be involved in your sister's funding decision? I'm involved in every funding decision. It's literally my job. But family should be held to the same standards as everyone else. Higher standards, if anything. That's cold, Uncle Roberto chimed in. Family helps family. Really? I looked around the room. Where was that energy when she was showing PowerPoints about my failures at family gatherings? When she told everyone I'd die alone with my computers? When she announced at Christmas that my success was luck and white male favoritism in tech? That was just jokes, Samantha protested. You're too sensitive. And you're too comfortable humiliating family for entertainment. Burls, please, Dad said weakly. It's Thanksgiving. You're right, I said. I'm thankful. Thankful that I built a career on merit, not connections. Thankful that I can spot a fraudulent company from a mile away. And thankful that success is the best response to a decade of being called the family disappointment. Still harping on that? Samantha rolled her eyes. God, get over it. I am over it. That's why I evaluated your company objectively, found it lacking, and moved on. You're the one who called a family meeting about a business decision. Because you ruined me. No, you ruined yourself. The fake algorithm, the stolen code, the threats to your CTO, that was all you. I just declined to fund it. The room went silent. What's she talking about? Mom asked slowly. Samantha's face cycled through several emotions before settling on indignant. She's making things up. Trying to justify her betrayal. I pulled out my phone. Would you like to see the legal documents? The settlement with Rajesh? The cease and desist from the GitHub repository owner? I have it all here. Those are business decisions, I suggested. Is that what you call threatening to have someone deported if they don't give you their work? You don't understand how hard it is. Samantha exploded. You've always had it easy. Everything just comes naturally to you. Do you know what it's like growing up with a sister who never had to try? Never had to try? I stared at her. I worked 18-hour days. I taught myself to code when I was 12. I got scholarships because we couldn't afford college. I built my career from nothing while you were spending dad's money on NLM schemes and calling me a loser. Because you are a loser. Look at you. 35, married to another nerd, no social life, probably planning to raise socially awkward kids will also hide behind screens. Samantha Rodriguez. Mom's voice could have cut glass. Apologize. Now? For what? Telling the truth? She's successful, sure, but what kind of life is that? Working all the time, analyzing spreadsheets, turning everything into data. At least I live. You live on other people's money, I said quietly. Their work, their code, their investments. You're a parasite who's convinced herself she's a predator. She threw her wine at me. Red wine, because of course. It splattered across my white sweater, the nice one Alan had bought me for my birthday. Feel better? I asked, wiping Malbec from my face. I hate you, she hissed. I've always hated you. Perfect Liliana with her perfect grades and her perfect job and her perfect life. You think you're so much better than everyone. No, I said, standing. I think I'm better than someone who builds companies on stolen code and threatened workers. That's a pretty low bar. I gathered my purse, my coat, my dignity. Where are you going? Dad asked. Home. To my husband. My nerdy, wonderful husband who's never once called me a disappointment for laughs. If you leave now, Samantha declared, you're out of this family. Promise? I asked. I left them there, Samantha raging, Mom trying to mediate, relatives taking sides. My phone buzzed with messages before I even reached my car, but I didn't check them. Alan was waiting with takeout Chinese and a fresh sweater when I got home. How bad? He asked. She threw wine at me. Red? Malbec. That stains. Subdo's calling your sister a disappointment for a decade. We ate lo mein and watched Netflix, and I felt more at home than I had any family gathering in years. The next morning, I had an email from Marcus. Heard Innovate Tech is shopping around to other VCs claiming we rejected them due to personal bias. Legal wants to know if we should send a formal response about the IP theft and labor violations. I thought about it. One email from our legal team would end Samantha's fundraising journey permanently. No VC would touch her after that. No, I typed back. Let her learn the hard way. Because here's what Samantha never understood. Success isn't about tearing others down. It's about building something real. She'd spent so many years mocking my quiet achievements that she'd never bothered to achieve anything herself. 6 months later, Innovate Tech folded. Samantha pivoted to becoming a startup coach, selling courses on how to pitch like a pro for $499. The irony wasn't lost on me. She blocked me on all social media, told the family I'd stolen her dreams, and continued playing the victim at every gathering I no longer attended. But sometimes late at night, I'd get LinkedIn notifications. She'd viewed my profile. Again and again. The family disappointment she couldn't stop watching. Success, it turns out, is the best revenge. Not because it hurts those who hurt you, but because it makes their opinion irrelevant. And after a decade of being called the family disappointment, irrelevance was exactly what my sister's opinions deserved.